Shalom, welcome to the Jewish Task Force, JTF. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach. Barack Hussein Obama did not honestly win this election. He was not reelected honestly. He won 51% to 48% of the popular vote. So a swing of just 2% of the vote would have given Mitt Romney the victory in the national popular vote. And if you look at the Electoral College in the key swing states like Ohio, Virginia, Florida, Iowa, a swing of just 3 points or 4 points would have given Mitt Romney a victory in enough of those swing states to give him an Electoral College victory as well. Mitt Romney won the election if the election was being held fairly. But because it was done unfairly and because there was massive voter fraud, Obama was able to supposedly win re-election. Let me give you some illustrations of what took place on a massive scale all over the country. In Philadelphia, for instance, in 59 election divisions in Philadelphia, Barack Hussein Obama got 19,500 votes to 0 votes for Mitt Romney. 19,500 for Barack Hussein Obama to 0 votes for Mitt Romney. That is mathematically and statistically impossible. That never happens in elections, that you get an election 19,500 to 0. They destroyed Romney votes. They did not count Romney votes in Pennsylvania. If there had been a fair count, and if there had not been massive voter fraud, Mitt Romney would have carried Pennsylvania. Here's another example. In Maine, you had all white towns in Maine where no black person had ever lived in the town, ever. The towns were always 100% white. Hundreds of black people showed up at these towns, town after town in Maine, saying that they live in the town and they want to vote, and they were allowed to vote. Because people are so afraid that they're going to be accused of racism or voter suppression or all these other phony charges, that hundreds of blacks who came to support Obama in Maine, who clearly didn't live in the towns where they claimed they lived in. These were towns that are 100% white, where you never had a single black person living there. Hundreds of blacks showed up and claimed they lived in those towns, and they were all allowed to vote. Now, tens of millions of people cast what were called early ballots, early voting. Many millions voted through absentee ballots. You know what happens with an absentee ballot? You mail in the ballot. And you hope that when you mail it into the Board of Elections, that the person who works in the Board of Elections, in your state Board of Elections or your state election office, is going to be honest enough to put your ballot in so that it will be counted. But if the person working in the state ballot office gets the thing in the mail and decides to rip up your ballot, who's going to know? Who's going to know? I mean, that happened on a massive scale. In the key swing states, you have offices where 80 or 90% of the workers in those offices are black. Since blacks voted 96% for Obama, I think it's safe to assume that those black office workers supported Obama. When they got ballots from Republican areas or from overwhelmingly white suburban areas, a lot of those ballots were destroyed. And we know that because we know that polls showed that there was going to be a huge white and Republican and suburban turnout for Mitt Romney. That was something that was anticipated in the polls. And I'm talking about polls that are not conservative polls by any means, like the Gallup poll. This was all anticipated. And yet, for some mysterious reason, the voter turnout was down in all of these Romney areas where people insisted that they had voted, where people insisted that there seemed to be a heavy Romney vote, and yet voter turnout was down. Why? Because if you go, for instance, I'll tell you, I'm a New Yorker. I went to the Board of Elections because I was trying to get people to register here. And New York was not a swing state, but I went there. And you know what I saw? I saw that there were 16 workers in the local Board of Elections office that I went to. 16, I counted them. All 16 were black. All 16. Because state governments overwhelmingly hire blacks for all of these positions. This is part of affirmative action. And in Florida, I can tell you, Florida, which is a swing state, if you go to the local elections offices in Dade County, Broward County, in many counties in Florida, Virtually all the workers there are black. Vast majority of the people who work there are black. Now, they get these things in the mail. Nobody's watching or supervising them. They're being trusted to honestly process all of the ballots and put all the ballots where they're supposed to be put when it comes in the mail. They can't be trusted. There was a lot of cheating and destruction of votes. There was a lot of voter fraud. That's a fact. In Florida, there were many people spoke of what they called voter irregularities. That's voter fraud. And of course, many Obama voters voted twice, and sometimes more than that. People that are not registered to vote voted. People that had no right to vote voted. People that don't exist voted. Dead people voted. Dozens of people were arrested for voter fraud around the country, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. They don't catch even a fraction of a percent of all the people that are engaged in these activities. And I could go on. There's a limited time in this video, but I could give you instances which I saw with my own eyes of voter suppression of Romney supporters taking place all over the place. And so there's no question that if you add all of that up, that accounts for more than just 2% of the vote, because, again, a swing of just 2% of the vote, Mitt Romney would have won. Barack Hussein Obama is an illegitimate president. He did not win the election. Mitt Romney won this election. If you want to tabulate the votes and look at things honestly without voter fraud, Mitt Romney won the election. What a disgrace. What a disgrace that we have a situation where through cheating and dishonesty and corruption, which is accepted by everybody and by both sides because the other party does it, the Republicans don't even want to make the accusation because they're so afraid that they're going to be accused of racism. It's not a matter of racism. Nobody has anything against anybody because of the color of their skin or because of their race. That's irrelevant. It's a matter of political preference, that people, because of their political preference and ideology, decided to cheat and they have stolen an election. Something which most people don't want to speak about, but which is worth speaking about and exposing. If you want an end to voter fraud, and if you want to work for honest elections, an honest government, and want to work to save America, Israel, and Western civilization from those who are destroying everything that is dear to all of us, then join our forum. You don't have to be Jewish to join the JTF forum. About half of our members are not Jewish. Hope to see you on the forum. Shalom.